As we've seen, most weird weapons were inspired by existing weapons that couldn't quite do the job. The spear is a good example. Against plate armour, it was ineffective, and the wooden shaft made it very vulnerable.
What the common foot soldier needed was a weapon that could make him a match for those men-at-arms in their highly expensive armour. Now, the spear was virtually useless for that, but he could try this, the Ahlspiess, the eel spear. Now, this has an armour-piercing point on the end of a very long, slender steel blade with this rondelle here to give you some protection. Now, this was a magnificent weapon. The advantage of the Ahlspiess was that you could aim for the cracks and the chinks in the plate armour, or you could try and pierce right through it. Now, with the Ahlspiess, you could keep coming back, because this long steel blade was not easy to break. The disadvantages were that it was an extremely heavy weapon, and all the weight at the business end. You couldn't have a shield with it because you needed both hands, which meant that you had to absolutely commit yourself to the blow. And if you failed... The odds seemed stacked against the common foot soldier. What he needed was a weapon that could cut, thrust, and chop at the same time. So, he found one.
The billhook was an agricultural tool with a long, hooked blade. It is still used today for hedging and lopping branches. As a weapon, it is of great antiquity. It was used by some of Alexander the Great's infantry.
This was the medieval version of the billhook. A long single-edged blade which curved into a hook, a spike at the end, and a fluke on the back ridge of the blade. This was the most popular medieval polearm, relatively easy to make, and used throughout Europe. This is the medieval billhook. Now, we infantry, we're not armed in plate like you guys. We may have leather and cloth and jacks and maybe some mail if we're really pretty well equipped, but nothing like the sort of technology that you've got on your fronts and backs. But at least we've got this weapon. This can be made by a good, skilled local blacksmith. The blade itself divided into these three: the spike, the hook, the fluke at the back. Step forward a minute. There's something about armour which you will immediately notice as you're walking, which is that it gets caught in things. There's lots of bits sticking out, lots of cracks that you can hook into, yeah, and just catch. So there's the elbows there, there's the shoulders here, there's bits of the body itself that you can hook into, and there you've got him like a fish. Now, of course, you have to get close enough to be able to do that, so what you want to do first is hit him hard, either with the spike. It'll go straight through armour if you hit him hard enough, or alternatively, you can use the fluke at the back. At high speed, would go straight through that armour. Or say that you were riding by me on a horse, so I'm down here as an infantryman. Ride by me and I can sweep you straight out of your saddle. Now, you can use the butt against armour like that to push someone back. You can swing it around just to keep them at a distance. So, it's a pretty good all-round weapon. But frankly, against a really good swordsman, you're not going to have much of a chance. Now, I could parry you, cut to my head. I could parry you there, but I'm completely exposed. Do it again. So I need to at least do that and clear it, yeah? The problem is that you're going to come straight back cutting at me, so let's have a little routine here. We go to the head, I'm going to clear it, straight back in the middle, there. All right, now, I chose to parry because I thought he was going to give me a cut. He wasn't, he was going to give me a thrust, so I'm dead. You can see my problem. I can only make one mistake. This is one of the weirdest weapons of the Middle Ages. A long club fitted with iron spikes. It was a traditional weapon, roughly made by local blacksmiths. It was called a Godendag, which means good day. The Flemish must have had a sense of humour. As they hit their opponents, they would say, Godendag. It was used for thrusting, Godendag. For striking, Godendag. And for slashing open the flanks of horses. Godendag! Very nasty.
How nasty? Well, in 1302, at the Battle of Courtrai, a magnificent French army came face to face with the Flemish Godendag.
This absolutely simple, homemade weapon, wielded by untrained peasants and shopkeepers, was up against mailed, mounted knights of the finest army in Europe. So, who would you put your money on?
If you bet on the French, you lost. The Flemish peasants carried the day. In the right hands, the Godendag is indeed a fearsome weapon.